how do you see like storytelling playing out, like just in everyday kind of stuff? Like Rick, if you were doing leading one of your team meetings or trying to pitch something to Al Weiss on something, like how does this play out, in regular regular leadership and regular consulting, not just on the stage, because you could see on the stage like, oh, I'm going to bring the audience in, but in the regular, and how does it get embedded into experiences? I know, Bob, you have like experiences that you design as an Imagineer. The experiences tell the story as well. How do you pull that off in those other ways?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll give you an example of a way I used a story with my teams over and over and over again. And the lesson that we were trying to get across, and I would bet you would agree with the point, but at Disney, in the Disney culture, relationships are really important to get things done. And we also wanted to make sure that our teams understood that that's the same thing with guests. We were able, if you can establish a relationship with a guest, that's much better than not having that relationship. And our guests, as you guys know, we have billions of dollars of infrastructure in attractions and in hotels and all that. And 99% of the guest letters that we get are things that our cast members do. We get a note that's saying, this guy held the door open for me, and I just couldn't believe that. And for my mom, and he said hello to her every morning on the way. Nothing about $6 billion Space Mountain, but we get a lot about those things. And so to encourage that understanding to my team, I would share this story that I had a housekeeper. I was a brand new general manager for the Caribbean Beach Resort, Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. And I had just joined that team. I'd been a GM for a while, but I just joined that team. And so I was going around to my different guys and asking them about their teams and how they work. And this was a story I'd share. I went to our executive housekeeper, 𝗲𝘂𝗄𝗏 Harley was her name. And I said, 𝗲𝘂, who is our best trainer in housekeeping? And she says, that's easy. That's easy. That's Betty Jackson. She is the best. She gets the most guest comments by far than anybody else, and we send all of our new housekeepers to Betty Jackson. I said, great. Sign me up. I want to go get in costume and do training with Betty Jackson for a day. And so we scheduled it, and I got my costume, and I met Betty in the morning, and we started cleaning rooms together, and she was teaching me how to clean a room. But as we went through the morning and several different rooms, I noticed she was missing lots of things. She was missing actually some pretty basic things. One time she didn't look under the bed for trash, and another time, she forgot to replace the amenities, the shampoo and all that stuff, and forgot to look in some drawers for things that maybe a guest might have left behind. So I what am I going to do now? I'm halfway through our best trainer. So I finally said, Betty, let's pause for a minute. And I've just got to ask you. I said, you've missed a couple things here, A, B, and C. And she said, oh gosh, Rick, I'm so sorry. You're right. I don't know what's got into me today. And I said, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm the GM and I'm intimidating and who knows what. And so I said, let's just sit and talk for a minute and try to reduce the stress a bit. I said, how long have you worked here? She goes, oh, Rick, 25 years. I said, really? Do you like it? She goes, I love it. I love it. She goes, let me show you why. And we walked over to the door of the room, and she looked out the window, Caribbean Beach, and she said, so up there is 1801. Now, 1801, that's Donnie Davis, and he's here on business. And so, he had meetings for the last 2 days, but his last day is tomorrow. But he's got some meetings throughout the day. He's going to need a late checkout, so I'm going to call and make sure he gets a late checkout later on this afternoon. Now, the next one, those are the Johnsons. Now, the Johnsons, they're here with the two twins, Bobby and Denny, and they both like Buzz Lightyear, and they're here from Iowa on their vacation. They're in Magic Kingdom today, but they were in Epcot yesterday, and so I'm going to put a little towel animal of Buzz Lightyear in their room so that they welcome them back to the room. And then the next one, that's the Tina Stevens and her husband Derek, and they're here on their honeymoon, and so they're going to have California Grill tonight, and so I'm going to write them a little note today saying thank you, and congratulations on your honeymoon. And Betsy, they cleaned 18 rooms a day. She went room by room. She knew every one of her guests. She knew why they were there. She knew their names, and she knew how she could make something special. I learned at that moment that she was one of our worst cleaners, but she was one of our best housekeepers because she established those relationships. Now, I could stand in front of my team and tell them till I'm blue in the face, guys, relationships are important. They're really important. Let's be sure we do relationships. And we could have big posters on the wall that say relationships are important. But you tell them that story, and I've had people forever going, now I get it.